And joining me as usual tonight on The Wrap is SiriusXM host, columnist for Forbes.com, and the winner of the 1974 Masters. Is that true? Yes, Rick Unger.
It is. Boy, now you're talking dream. Dream. If I could even go to the Masters, let alone win it.
That's on my bucket list, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll be going next year. That's guaranteed. Anyway, also joining us, back as usual after shooting 68 yesterday on the back nine, Heather Hansen. And finally, it's all Forbes all the time.com contributor Bill Tucker is here as well and looking quite spry. So, any moment now, Senator Marco Rubio will be taking the stage in Miami to announce his intention to run for president. Earlier today, the Rubio campaign released this video.
I've been raised in a community of exiles, of people who lost their country, of people who know what it's like to live somewhere else. For me, America isn't just a country. It's the place that literally changed the history of my family. It's a nation of equal opportunity. It's the most powerful force for good that the world has ever known. This is the America that welcomed my parents.
I like in the video how they threw Rick on first to rile up the base.
I'm rarely am I confused for Marco Rubio.
A vote for me is a vote against Unger's girl. Anyway, here's more from the video.
The reason why America is special and what defines us as a people and as a nation is the idea that anyone from anywhere can accomplish anything here, because we believe that every human being born anywhere on earth has a God-given right, not a law-given right, a God-given right to go as far as their talent and their work will take them. I believe with all my heart that if we make the right choices, my children and your children and grandchildren will be the freest, most prosperous Americans ever.
Mr. Rubio also taking a shot at the president and former Secretary of State, the aforementioned Hillary Clinton.
Around the world, because of the Obama-Clinton foreign policy, our allies no longer trust us, and our enemies no longer fear us. This is the road this president has placed us on. A government that increasingly controls every aspect of our life, from our health care choices to now even the internet. And a foreign policy that treats the Ayatollah in Iran with more respect than the Prime Minister of Israel.
And the 44-year-old then sums up the choice America now faces.
This is about whether we are going to be the first generation of Americans to leave our children worse off than ourselves, or the next generation that will allow them to inherit what they deserve, inherit what we inherited, give to them what every generation before us has given to the next. The single greatest nation in all of human history. God bless you, thank you, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Well, they mixed up the music nicely on it. They had a little piano on one, a little guitar riff on the other. Well done. Anyway, do we have Mr. Rubio in Florida?
Thank you for being here. After months of deliberation and prayer about the future of our country, I have come here tonight to make an announcement on how I believe I can best serve her. I chose to make this announcement at the Freedom Tower because it is truly a symbol of our nation's identity as the land of opportunity. And I am more confident than ever that despite our troubles, we have it within our power to make our time another American century. In this very room, 5 decades ago, tens of thousands of Cuban exiles began their new lives in America. Their story is part of the larger story of the American miracle. How, united by a common faith in their God-given right to go as far as their talent and work would take them, a collection of immigrants and exiles, of former slaves and refugees, together built the freest and most prosperous nation ever. You see, for almost all of human history, power and wealth belonged only to a select few. Most people who have ever lived were trapped by the circumstances of their birth, destined to live the life their parents had. But America's different, because here we are the children and the grandchildren of people who refused to accept this. Both of my parents were born to poor families in Cuba. After his mother died, my father had to go work when he was 9 years old. My mother was one of 7 girls raised by a disabled father who struggled to provide for his family. When they were young, my parents had big dreams for themselves. But because they were not born into wealth or power, their future was destined to be defined by their past. And so in 1956, they came here to America, to the one place on earth where the aspirations of people like them could be more than just dreams. Here in America, my father became a bartender. My mother, a cashier, a maid, a Kmart store clerk. They never made it big, but they were successful. 2 immigrants with little money or education found stable jobs, owned a home, retired with security, and gave all 4 of their children a life better than their own. My parents achieved what came to be known as the American dream. The problem is now too many Americans are starting to doubt whether achieving that dream is still possible. Hard-working families that are living paycheck to paycheck, one unexpected expense away from disaster. Young Americans, unable to start a career or a business or a family because they owe thousands of dollars in student loans for degrees that did not even lead to jobs. And small business owners who are left to struggle under the weight of more taxes, more regulation, and more government. Why is this happening in a country that for over 2 centuries has been defined by equality of opportunity? It's because while our people and our economy are pushing the boundaries of the 21st century, too many of our leaders and their ideas are stuck in the 20th century. They're busy looking backwards. So they do not see how jobs and prosperity today depend on our ability to compete in a global economy. And so our leaders put us at a disadvantage by taxing and borrowing and regulating like it was 1999. They look for solutions in yesterday. So they do not see that good paying modern jobs require different skills and more education than in the past. So they blindly support an outdated higher education system that is too expensive and too inaccessible to those who need it most. And they have forgotten. They have forgotten that when America fails to lead, global chaos inevitably follows. And so they appease our enemies, they betray our allies, and they weaken our military. Now look, at the turn of the 19th century, a generation of Americans harnessed the power of the industrial age, and they transformed this country into the leading economy in the world. And the 20th century became the American century. Well, now the time has come for our generation to lead the way towards a new American century. If we reform our tax code and reduce regulations and control spending and modernize our immigration laws and repeal and replace Obamacare, if we do these things, the American people will create millions of better paying modern jobs. If we create a 21st century system of higher education that provides working Americans the chance to acquire the skills they need, that no longer graduates students with mountains of debt and degrees that do not lead to jobs, and that graduates more students from high school ready to work, then our people will be prepared to seize their opportunities in this new economy. If we remember that the family, not the government, is the most important institution in our society. If we remember that all human life deserves protection of our laws, and if we remember that all parents deserve to choose the education that's right for their children, then we will have a strong people and a strong nation. And if America once again accepts the mantle of global leadership. By abandoning this administration's dangerous concessions to Iran and its hostility to Israel. By reversing the hollowing out of our military. By giving our men and women in uniform the resources, the care, and the gratitude that they deserve. By no longer being passive in the face of Chinese and Russian aggression. And by ending the near total disregard for the erosion of democracy and human rights around the world, especially Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. Then, if we did these things, then our nation would be safer, our world more stable, and our people more prosperous. These are the things that we must do. But this election is not just about what laws we're going to pass. This election is a generational choice about what kind of country we will be. Now, just yesterday, a leader from yesterday began a campaign for president by promising to take us back to yesterday. Yesterday is over. And we're never going back. You see, we Americans are proud of our history, but our country has always been about the future. And before us now is the opportunity to author the greatest chapter yet in the amazing story of America. But we can't do that by going back to the leaders and ideas of the past. We must change the decisions we are making by changing the people who are making them. And so, that is why tonight, grounded by the lessons of our history, but inspired by the promise of our future, I announce my candidacy for President of the United States. Now look, I know my candidacy might seem improbable to some watching from abroad. After all, in many countries, the highest office in the land is reserved for the rich and the powerful. But I live in an exceptional country. I live in an exceptional country where even the son of a bartender and a maid can have the same dreams. I live in an exceptional country where the son of a bartender and a maid can have the same dreams and the same future as those who come from power and privilege. I recognize the challenges of this campaign, and I recognize the demands of this office that I seek. But in this endeavor, as in all things, I find comfort in the ancient command: be strong and courageous. Do not tremble or be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. I've heard some suggest that I should step aside and wait my turn. But I cannot, because I believe our very identity as an exceptional nation is at stake, and I can make a difference as president. I'm humbled by the realization that America doesn't owe me anything. But I have a debt to America I must try to repay. This isn't just the country where I was born. America is literally the place that changed my family's history. I regret that my father did not live to see this day in person. He used to tell me all the time, he used to tell us all the time, en este país ustedes van a poder lograr todas las cosas que nosotros no pudimos. In this country. That means in this country you will achieve all the things we never could. Now, on the days when I'm tired or discouraged, I remember the sounds of his keys jingling at the front door of our home, well past midnight, as he returned from another long day at work. When I was younger, I didn't fully appreciate all he did for us. But now, as my own children grow older, I more fully understand. You see, my father was grateful for the work he had, but that was not the life he wanted for his children. He wanted all the dreams he once had for himself to come true for us. He wanted all the doors that closed for him to open for me. And so my father stood behind a small portable bar in the back of a room for all those years, so that tonight I could stand behind this podium in front of this room and this nation. That journey from behind that bar to behind this podium, that's the essence of the American dream. And whether we remain a special country will depend on whether that journey is still possible for those who are trying to make it right now. The single mother who works long hours for little pay so her children don't have to struggle the way she has to. The young student who takes 2 buses before dawn to attend a better school halfway across town. The workers in our hotel kitchens, the landscaping crews in our neighborhoods, the late-night janitorial staff that clean our offices, and even the bartenders who tonight are standing in the back of a room somewhere in America. If their American dreams become impossible, we will have just become another country. But if they succeed, this 21st century will also be an American century. This will be the message of my campaign and the purpose of my presidency. And to succeed on this journey, I will need your prayers and your support and ultimately your vote. And so tonight I'm asking you to take that first step with me by joining us at our website, marcorubio.com. My wife Jeanette and my 4 children are here tonight. The next 19 months will take me far away from home. I'll miss watching Amanda run track, and Daniela play volleyball, and Anthony play football, and Dominic play soccer. But I have chosen this course because this election is about them. Theirs is the most important generation in America. And I'll tell you why. Because if we can capture the promise of this new century, they will be the freest and the most prosperous Americans that have ever lived. But if we fail, they will be the first generation of Americans to inherit a country worse off than the one left for their parents. The final verdict on our generation will be written by Americans who have not yet been born. Let us make sure they record that we made the right choice. That in the early years of this century, faced with a rapidly changing and uncertain world, our generation rose to face the great challenges of our time. And because we did, there was still one place in the world where who you come from does not determine how far you go. Because we did, the American miracle lived on. Because we did, our children and theirs lived in a new American century. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the United States. Thank you. Thank you.
You want me to speak over him while he's shaking hands?
I'm not showing.
We're not going to show our studio audience.
Pretty wife.
Yeah.
She was
What's her name?
Janelle.
Mrs. Rubio. And that is Senator Marco Rubio, Florida, Republican, Cuban American, announcing his 2016 presidential run. His wife and children joining him on stage. One day after Hillary Clinton announces her run for the presidency. If you're doing the math at home, we now have Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Hillary Clinton, three people that we completely expected to be running for president, now have announced, and Rand Paul as well from Kentucky, making it 4. And by the time we're done, probably we'll get to a double-digit number, I would imagine, as far as the number of candidates on the Republican side and the Democratic side. Rubio saying, I live in an exceptional country where even the son of a bartender and a maid can have the same opportunity as those who come from power and privilege. Rubio's story is a remarkable one, as we were commenting here on set. And we're back now with our panel, and welcome back to the Daily Wrap once again. We reintroduce Rick Unger, Heather Hansen, Bill Tucker. Bill, what struck you about that speech most?
He has a dream. He is the dream, and he's got a passion, and he's selling it, and he has a story, and it's a story people can relate to.
Heather.
Yeah, I think he talked about real ideas. He talked about redoing the tax code. He talked about redoing immigration. He talked about taking on the mantle of global leadership, which encompasses both our foreign policy and national policy, which I think is important.
Rick.
Well, he talked about real ideas, but they're the identical same ideas we've been hearing for years and years and years from the Republican Party, which, if that's what he wants to run on, I think that's fine. I don't think it'll prove very successful for him. Look, the speech itself, at parts, I thought was very good. At other parts, he seemed to stumble a bit, got a little bit uncomfortable, but it was good. I think Rand Paul so far has won for the best speech, but it was okay. Look, he's going to have a very hard time. This is all going to come down at the early stages to one thing for Marco Rubio. Can he raise the money? He's got 2 billionaires that he goes in with, which isn't bad. There's some, you have to count your billionaires. It all stacks up.
Amazing.
There's some talk that he could end up being the candidate of the Koch brothers, and that obviously would be very helpful. But as it stands right now, he's got some real problems in this regard. Remember, he's from Florida. Who else is from Florida? Jeb Bush, who has wrapped up a lot of the money. So that's going to be the first critical test.
But did you see the Wall Street Journal poll that came out, I think it
did.
came out today, where they said that only 42% of Republican primary voters cannot see themselves voting for Bush, and only a quarter can't see themselves voting for Rubio. I think that makes a big difference in the primary. There's too many people who do not want to vote for Jeb Bush.
It might. The only thing I will caution, I mean, it could certainly stay that way, to be sure. The only thing I would caution is there's a long, long history in the Republican Party of people ending up dissatisfied with their candidate, but having to go with it because that candidate emerges, maybe not as their favorite choice, but as the one most likely to succeed in the general election. I think when you look at the general election, my assessment is still that Jeb Bush has the best chance of winning against a Hillary Clinton. Marco Rubio is somebody, if he can pull off a decent campaign and get the money. I keep saying he's got the cleanest slate. Even though he's got some negatives among the base, He may have the cleanest slate. I still think it hurts him that, as my wife put it, is he still in high school?
Well, that leads me to my next question then, and it absolutely kills me, by the way, that Mr. Rubio, we now have presidential candidates that are younger than me.
Yeah.
All right, now 3 months, Marco, and his hairline is infinitely better. But I wonder, now Barack Obama ran in his mid-40s as well, so I don't know if age means that much, but to Rick's point, in terms of just his appearance and his gravitas, does he almost look too young for the average low-information voter to take seriously? I know we know better, but I'm saying when people see him, they go, he looks like a 30-year-old kid.
No, but he's attractive and he's handsome, and people like attractive, handsome individuals. People who are attractive do well. We think they're smarter, even if they're not really smarter. We think they are.
Well, you're a good-looking guy, so you would
and
know.
there I, and I'm proof. I'm proof of it right there. No, it's. I don't know that it's. It might be a weakness. Rick, you may be right, but I don't know if I am or not.
I don't think so. I think he's the Republican answer to President Obama. We saw this happen already, and we saw it work. And he can run on change with some true. But he won.
That's a self-defeating argument, though.
But he
if
won.
That is,
But he has the knowledge and the experience that President Obama did not have when he went in.
How's that?
I mean, being on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, President Obama didn't have any of that type of.
He's
of
also
experience.
a one-term senator.
I understand.
He's actually exactly what a Barack Obama.
For me, that's what the biggest weakness of it is for him.
He's exactly
he
Barack
is,
Obama.
in a lot of ways, exactly Barack Obama. He's a one-term senator, and that worries me. That's the part that worries me.
He brings a lot more foreign policy experience than Barack Obama did.
And less domestic policy experience. So,
Now, because we all love to be entertained, political theater, wouldn't the contrast between Hillary Clinton, 67 years old, Marco Rubio, 44 years old, imagine that race. Boy, wouldn't that be fun.
Not an accident that his best line of the speech, in my opinion, not an accident that he pointed out, yesterday's gone.
Yep.
He absolutely is going to pit himself as the future against old school Hillary.
But generational choice, and to have, there's a beautiful young family coming forward. It would be the biggest diametric opposite you could possibly see to have, a grandmother running against this young father.
And he kicks out the argument. He just kicks out from underneath Hillary the argument that she's the regular person running for the regular people in this race. He just destroyed that.
Yeah, and we're going to talk more about Hillary Clinton in the next block.
What makes him so regular?
Background.
His whole background
What's
is regular.
Hillary's background? And do you care?
Well, she was first lady for 8 years.
No,
She was,
go back to when her parents came over from whatever country. Because that's what you're basing it on.
Back too far.
Oh, then it's back too far. But for him, it's okay.
She's not a regular person.
Guess what? We
Rick.
get to talk about this more.
Good luck with that.
The big takeaway from that speech is that Marco Rubio has a very chantable name, Marco. Anyway, more Hillary when we come back. This is the Daily Wrap, only on Newsmax.